You're now listening to Directing Magic with your host, Marquette Jones.
Hello and welcome back to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Hi. Today with me I have a dear friend of mine, Rainy Kerwin. She is the director, writer, producer, actress in The Wedding Invitation.
And craft services.
And craft services.
No, my joke is that I wore so many hats. That's the one I didn't do, except that craft services were often at my house and I would have to bring them to set. So yeah.
Did you cook for your crew? Because, you know, that's a sign of a real female filmmaker. Like,
right. You do everything. Yeah, you don't delegate. No, I'm learning. On the next one, I'm going to delegate. On this one, I practically cooked.
I'm sorry. Okay, so you can see how this is going to go. We see how this is going to go. This is great. So okay, Rainy.
Yes.
Why did you do everything?
Well, I think as a first-time filmmaker, you don't have a choice. Your budget is small. In my case, it was. And I didn't pay myself. So that, took that out of the budget in several places because I wore so many hats. I started out in LA as an actress. I came here to be an actress. And a couple years into it, I realized, wait a second, I'm not getting the roles I want. And if I want to have a career in any capacity, I have to have a voice in it. Mm-hmm. So I slowly put the hats on. So I thought, oh, right. That seems easy.
Right.
Hundreds of thousands of people do it every day.
I don't know about that many, and I don't know how many of those
maybe
do it well.
Claim it. Yeah. That's true. So I started writing, and it was amazing because as an actor, you study, and you get to act then. But you don't get to act in the business almost ever, if you get an audition, and if you book something. But talk to any, working actors, that means they're booking like a couple times a year,
Mm-hmm.
So I just wasn't I wasn't filling my creative cup that way. So, so I started writing, and it was
Where'd you come from?
I hail from, I hail from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Oh.
Yeah. Did
Okay.
you know that? Did you know that I was Canadian?
No.
Yeah.
I always thought that you were actually from LA or thereabouts.
Well, everyone does if you look up my IMDb because it says born in Los Angeles, and that's true, but I moved when I was 3 years old to Winnipeg.
Oh, okay.
So for all intents and purposes, I'm a prairie Canadian girl that grew up saying out and
about. Do you have residency in Canada? Citizenship rather?
I am a citizen, yes. I carry 2 passports.
Oh.
So, yeah, I could go back and work, and I have considered that now. You can't go back before. Everyone's like, oh, it's great. You live you're from Canada. You can go back and work. But unless you've established yourself and have something under your belt, you're just kind of going back and, being at the bottom of the triangle again and trying to get that one line audition there. But yeah, sorry, I'm off track already. Okay, so I started writing, and then out of necessity, I had to produce. So for several years, I set this project up to be very different many years ago, the Wedding Invitation that we'll talk about that I just finished, or I should say that just released. And I had another project as well and a producing partner on that. So I learned, I would sit in these meetings and these conference calls, and that was my film school. Mm-hmm. So that was writing and then producing. And then finally directing, when it came around to it, I just thought, I know these characters, I know this story. I spent the last 8 years working at an acting conservatory as a director and a teacher, and I thought, damn, I raised the money. Nobody's going to say no. Who's going to say no? And so, yeah, I did that, and then I starred in it because,
She starred in it, like literally she's the main character. I'm like, okay.
Which, let's be honest, is not always the smartest move when you need to get a name. Mm-hmm. But we were after a name to start. I wasn't going to be in the lead. I was going to play the role of Ryan, which was the best friend. But we can get into that as to why I did end up playing the lead. But yeah.
How long... I heard you say that you were looking for big names and stuff like that at first. How long did you try to have the big budget version of the movie?
Well, this was set up to be a $10 million film about 7 or 8 years ago. It was before Bridesmaids came out, and that was a whole different crew of people that were on board. And at that time, it was all women, and not by a design of mine. It just happened to be the men they didn't get it. 3 female leads. They didn't understand the story. And women sort of gravitated to it. So we worked on that for, a year and a half or something. And it grew and grew. We had this producer. We had a big director attached. I wasn't going to direct it at the time. We had an A-list casting director. We were making offers, but we just couldn't get it past the money men, so that the project fell apart. And then I brought it back, and it's been about 2.5, 3 years now that I started funding it, and to now, which and it just released. Yeah.
So what is it about? Let me just back up and give folks the basics. So The Wedding Invitation.
Right. Okay. So I made a movie. Yay. It's a female-driven comedy about 3 best friends who get a last-minute invitation to an 80s prom-themed wedding. And they decide they've got this week and they need +1s, and they're gonna take this opportunity to say, hey, I'm taking control of my life in the dating capacity. I'm not going to sit around and wait for a guy to look at me, or go to a bar and dress up and play coy until we make eye contact. I'm going to go out and take control of my life and go after the guy I want, or the guy I've had a crush on for years, that more years will pass if I don't say something.
So that's Sadie Hawkins.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Do people even know what Sadie Hawkins is anymore?
That character was from the 40s.
I'm not that old.
No, but it's gone on, right?
It's held on. Okay. Yes. So look that up.
Yeah. Google that.
Okay. But yeah, Sadie Hawkins is a kind of a flip the script situation where women would invite the guy to the dance.
Right. And Sadie was a person. Sadie Hawkins was this person. It's so funny. It's become such a kind of a coined phrase or a buzz term that we forget that it's a name. Sadie Hawkins was this girl who went and asked a boy to the dance, and it was
so.
taboo.
In the wedding invitation, the women decide that they're going to invite the guy of their dreams or thereabouts to come to the wedding.
To come to this wedding. And so there's three best friend characters, and they all go about it a different way. You've got Lucy, who is petrified of humiliating herself. Guys don't want to be hit on by girls. Like, that changes it changes everything, and it's awkward, and I don't want to embarrass myself. I mean, this girl has been driven her entire life by fear, which is why I was able to write the character, because I am also driven by fear. Or I shouldn't say driven by fear, I should say paralyzed by fear, really. Up until making this film. And then maybe I started being driven by fear. But then you've got Ryan, who is this kind of, loudmouth, inappropriate, kind of tomboy girl that's like, I don't know. Can we swear? You'll beat that? Yeah. She's like, no problem. I got my guy. But she goes to actually go through with it, and it puts her in such an uncomfortable place that she has this realization, like, she's tough, she can do anything. But as a woman, she's like, wow, why is this hard for me?
Sure.
And then you got Nectar, who's beautiful, and guys have come to her whole life, and she says, it's her idea to play this game, to go do it. It's kind of a dare, and she thinks it's going to be no problem at all. And she quickly finds that, she's kind of going after it in a very shallow way, and that's really not who she is. And hilarity ensues, hopefully.
Yes, it is extremely funny. I went to the premiere at, I think it was the Burbank Film Festival.
Yeah.
That was a big theater.
That was a great night. I just had a filmmaker reach out to me on Facebook today and say, hey, what do you think about the Burbank Film Festival? Should we submit? And I have to say, having spent the last year on the circuit, that was really an incredible festival for us, because they attack it not so much like the regular festival that's a little bit smaller and they have a bunch of filmmaker panels and seminars. They don't have that. They don't do that. What they do correctly is they host this giant affair, in that they have these red carpets, and they have, a level of celebrity there, and they've got cameras there, and they've got these great AMC theaters, and they're we won at the gala event, and you feel like
what did you
you're
win?
At the Golden. We won Best Comedy, but it was a dinner, so it was packed, and I got to walk up on stage, and I was so like, I feel like I'm at a real award ceremony. So of course I thanked Lionsgate and my team at William Morris, and of course, I'm not with Lionsgate or William Morris, but I just felt like that's what you do at a real, that's what you do, right? At a real kind of gala award ceremony, you thank your team at William Morris. Yeah. They haven't called yet. Actually, funny story. Yes. I had submitted the film through a friend of mine to get rep there, and synchronistically or ironically, I was turned down the next day. I got an email. It had nothing to do with what I'd said, but he's like, "Oh, I saw your film and I really enjoyed it, but we're William Morris." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, you're William Morris." And so I said, "I really hope he never sees," because that was taped that night. Not that he would, but me thanking William Morris.
Well, did you tell the people that you were joking, or everyone in the audience
they knew? I just was like, "Yeah, I'd like to thank my team at William Morris and Lionsgate," and then I just paused and I just said, "No." And they got it. They were on board. But with comedy, it could go either way. You could totally like Kramer yourself accidentally, like make a terrible mess of things very quickly.
Very quickly, never to recover.
Never to recover.
Sorry, dude. I saw that video and I was like,
no,
sorry. I don't know if I could look at you the same. Even though other comedians try to have his back. I think Seinfeld came out and said, I know this man's character and da-da-da. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's
sorry.
Side.
So,
see, that's what I'm talking about. I just go all over the place.
You mean
in
terms
we went in that direction because I pulled that.
It's okay. What else do we have to talk about? Let me see. Oh, so we were talking about festival circuit. Back on track. So you premiered you and I met at, and it's a funny story with a sad ending, sort of. But we met at this mixer for South by Southwest. Do you remember?
Wait, is that the first time we met?
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't met you at Tessa Blake's house first?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember. But I've just got, what the times mixed up. But yeah. Yeah.
They had
How'd that go?
We both were invited to this LA mixer for people who had submitted to South by Southwest who had not been rejected yet.
But you know what? Can we reach a high five? High five. Yeah. That was a really big deal, I think. I mean, because when I think of levels of festivals, and they are top 3, top 4, top 5. I mean, they're up there.
At least top 5.
At least top 5.
Yeah.
And they were doing these rolling rejections that as soon as they knew, they were letting you know. So, and we had gotten to this stage where we hadn't been rejected yet. And we were both at this. And actually, I think very highly of that festival, even though they clearly made a mistake with our films.
Clearly.
But yeah, I just.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I think
Next
it's great
time.
that they do that. And they support filmmakers and they feel very filmmaker friendly in my book, even though I've never been to the festival.
Yeah, they're on my vision board one of these days. Just because everything that they do there, I really gravitate towards in terms of music, the intersection of music, interactive stuff, and film. That. Those are my kind of people. So one of these days.
Vision board.
Anyway.
Okay, so that's where we met, because I always remember this moment when we were all both members of Film Fatales, and so we were at this.
One of us is
Film Fatale meeting. Okay, but we were at the time, and we were at this Film Fatales meeting, and we were having a conversation over as the people were leaving, and we were doing dishes, really just kind of helping her clean up, and I felt like that was my first true connection with you, where we got to get through it a little bit.
It's funny because you never know when the connection happens, but my I'm keeping her moment with you was when you were like, we're in this together, girl. And I was like, okay, cool.
No, I really believe that. That is, I think that's the principle that's going to elevate us all from, this triangle, this bottom level being so wide and this expanse of people that if you build friendships and communities and tribes, you go up together. I mean, I at the risk of sounding a little cheesy, I have no desire to go up alone. You know what I mean? Even when, even if it's a red carpet or something, or, it's you want to be up there, or Q&A, you want to be up there with your team, your tribe, whatever it is. And that's the celebration. So I really look forward to, we're here now. Well, a year from now, where are we? 2 years from now, where 5 years? I mean, I look at those groups that started together, way back, like the Danny DeVito gang and these gangs that kind of started together, and they're all kind of besties at the top now. And I feel like that's what this community that exists right now in the female filmmaker world is. It's great right now, and honey, we're not at the bottom anymore. Like
That's
just
true.
that alone,
That's
we're all a little higher up because of each other. I do this with do you know Sarah Moshman? Great filmmaker.
Yes. I actually just
Empowerment
spoke
Project.
to her today. She's going to come on the show.
Oh, she is. Oh, she's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So I do this with her where we sit down once a year, and we're kind of piggybacking. She did her first one, and then I did mine, and then she did her second film. So we
nice.
take note a little bit, or stock, I should say, of where we're at, and I think that's important to do and recognize the wins.
So, okay, so taking stock for you, you have gone on this journey, a multiple year journey with the wedding invitation. Do you plan on writing, directing, producing, acting in the next one?
It's really interesting. I recently said, I was talking to my godfather and I said, I'm not going to wear so many hats the next time. And he said, well, what is it? What aren't you going to wear? And I said, well, I'll still wear those 4. I'm just not going to cast it. I'm not going to do locations. I'm not going to do post-production supervisor. Like, it was those things that I needed to take off my plate. The writing, what I do is I make sure the script's vetted in many different forms, because, and again, this was my first feature, so I didn't know that, right, you got to start with a good script, but I didn't realize how important it is. Because if there is something in post that could have been solved in the writing, if they just said the line with a different date or something like that is something you really need to figure out. But once the writing's done, you're pretty much done with that, other than the odd rewrite based on something that comes up. So that's fine. And then when I was on set, I was very lucky that I had a great producing team on set. So my 2 producing partners stepped up. And so aside from the odd thing, because I did do, 22 of the 23 locations we had, aside from something like that coming up and I had to deal with the guy on location that needed something signed or whatever, I was pretty free to direct and act. So then I guess that it comes down to, directing and acting and what I do both again. And, I'm really happy with how the wedding invitation turned out. I feel like as a first-time director, it allowed me to skip the step of telling my lead actor what I wanted. It's like directors who edit. Sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, but you can get in there and just do it rather than try to figure out how to explain it. So that sort of thing was helpful. But I do think, and I've always been very opposed to this, I do think I would use a stand-in next time. And I would be, like when the shot is slightly dirty, meaning that, my head is in it from the back, over like an OTS over the shoulder, just like kind of dirty with my hair in my shoulder, and that's in soft focus. I would get a stand-in that had my hair color and my shirt on, and I would put them in there because, and I didn't for a couple of reasons. I did have a stand-in, although she didn't match my look. But even if it was a clean shot, I didn't use her because I come from a kind of a traditional acting background, and that my performance that I'm going to get from my other actress is going to be dependent on the eyes she's looking at. And I always felt like I needed to be those eyes in there. I think that's having, had been coached and directed acting for years at this conservatory. I was always, to me, they're getting everything from me. It's really, it's all about me. Are they getting what they want from me? And so, but that being said, I think that did me a little bit of a disservice, and it slowed us down a little bit because then I would have to go back and watch playback on everything, not just my performance, but on every single take. So that was, that slowed us down a little bit. But, I don't know. You just asked me and I was like, well, maybe not. And then I said, yes, I'll.
To almost everything, except for location managing, which I totally understand. It's no fun.
And casting. I wouldn't cast.
I'm surprised that you wouldn't cast because you're an actor first. So I would think that the actors, choosing the actors would be really important.
But I would have a casting director and I would sit in on final sessions and stuff and make decisions. But I wouldn't go. I'm picking up the phone, and calling and setting up
Oh,
like every
yeah.
callbacks and dealing with
Yeah.
agents, saying,
Yeah.
how do they do? And all of that. And just organizing the location, like getting the casting, getting someone to run camera, get it. I mean, at some point you just go a little bit nuts with like, you're the one that's bringing the cards for the camera and you're bringing the camera to shoot this. And then you're downloading the footage. And at some point it's too many jobs, I think.
Yeah, you just kind of wore me out just with all of the detail
Yeah.
of what you just said. I'm like, oh yeah,
I'm sorry. You know what? I should go easier. What was I thinking?
So
Don't
with
want to upset
that,
anyone.
so you wouldn't do the casting. Have things changed for you since you've done your first feature?
It's really interesting because I don't know. You're asking questions that are making me think.
Yay. No, I'm
What's
asking
changed
for
for you?
completely selfish reasons because I'm getting ready to shoot my
Well-
first feature and I'm like, I need to know everything.
Yeah, I mean, and we can, but we only have 30 minutes. But I think what's I came out here with this driven, with this goal, and I am a type A Capricorn tunnel focused person, and because of that, I missed out on so much. I'm sure I did, and I wish I was. I don't want to go backwards. I'm not one of those people. I don't need to be having done this 10 years ago because I'm here now. Like then I wouldn't be living this now. But I will say that I was so focused on this acting thing that I was going to do, that I couldn't, I was never allowing life to start. And so, and I was saying that I kept pushing the goalpost, like I was going to be an actress and I was going to be successful at that. And as failure or triumph was near, I would push the goalpost again. And then I was going to be, I was going to write so that, so I had to achieve that. And then I was going to direct. So I've gotten to, the finish line, and that's what's changed. So that was a long way to tell you that I've finished something.
Sure.
And the sense of accomplishment, I don't know that it's fully hit me yet because people have been saying for a long time, wow, like you did it. And I mean, I guess I was going to say the viewers, but for the listeners, I guess we should just explain the timeline a little bit. So we finished reshoots at the end of 2015, finished up post, color corrections, score, song, like putting in all the music, everything to that extent, and premiered April 2016 at Palm Beach International. So 4 or 5 months later. And so that's when everybody was saying, oh, you've done it. But I hadn't. I had to still go through that circuit. And the circuit is one of the greatest experiences of my life and also one of the most grueling, because just because you get into a festival, you still have to work your butt off to get asses and seats and to, I'm creating, I learned Photoshop. I create my own posters. I'm printing the posters. I'm lugging the posters and an easel. And so you're just, maybe my low moments is, I'm the producer, I swear. I was in New York and we were premiering at the Manhattan Film Festival and Tribeca was happening at the same time. And I was in a wedding invitation t-shirt with 2 of my girlfriends that had flown in, and I was handing out postcards to the wedding invitation in the Tribeca line as if I was hired by the company. I mean, it's not glamorous. Like, look on my Facebook page because you'll think it is, but it's not. That's like less than 1% of what I do is the red carpets and the photos. And, that's what you put out there. But I mean, I swear if I was a reality show, you'd be very bored. It's me sitting in front of like my hovel of a office and with my computer.
I don't think people will be bored, but I do think they would be very surprised by how much work goes into every aspect of what we do.
Yeah, it's just the minutia of it is it's as encompassing and as complicated and as decision making as the big stuff, and it just takes time and energy. And so as people have been saying this last year, like, you did it. How do you feel? I was like, we're not distributed yet. It's like, but now we're distributed. Now I'm, finishing up with press and now I can kind of take a break and look at the accomplishment and coming back around to there is a form of finish line. I mean, I could stay with this film for another 2 years and try to promote it and try to do outreach but I feel like we did a good we did a good chunk of that. I'm very happy with the distribution team that was on board. And so hopefully, the word is out there and I can start to think about the next one. And, and you know this from having created many projects and as you create your feature very, very soon, it's actually a notch in this business that it's hard to get a notch on your belt. It is one,
Yeah.
So I have no fear of networking events anymore. Because I have something to say.
I know what you mean.
I'm a writer, director, actress. Oh, would I know you from
done?
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, I would never admit to being an actress at a networking event because it's hard. It's hard to be called an actress in this town if you're not on a hit show and people know who you are.
Yeah.
I have a lot of empathy for actors that, you have to say that and just the reaction that you get from people is
Do
difficult.
you still consider yourself an actor first?
You're making me think.
Don't
Darn
hurt
it.
yourself.
Well, that's how I do things. Type A. It has to be perfect. You know what? I wouldn't say this usually. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I've been an entertainer in my mind my entire life. I mean, I was doing commercials when I was, 8 years old and doing plays for the family and taking, songs and Weird Al Yankovicing them. And I've been doing that for so many years. That's just sort of who I am in my core and my spirit. But when I started directing, that was amazing because I had power.
Yeah.
Not power over people, but power to create a vision and people would people came together to make that happen. So I think,
And you had a vision.
and I had a vision, and I think that comes from, being an actor and being able to write dialogue and play with it and feel these characters and stuff. But I think, I think I'll always be an actress. But you realize on set now that the behind the scenes have the power. The directors and producers, and that's a fun place to be. It really is.
So still an actor first, but it sounds like if someone said, I just want you to direct, you would still do it.
I would, yeah. And I think it would be fun to do a paid gig that was just one. I think that would be really fun. Having gone through my first time as a director, what I learned on set. So I should tell you, because I come from the acting background and I didn't go to film school, I really had to I really had to bone up on that before I got on set. I did some extension classes at UCLA and just years of studying. And I've been obsessed with movies ever since I was in Mr. Selby's class in 12th grade and said, can I not read the Jane Austen book? Can I do my project on Gower Gulch in Old Hollywood? And he said yes.
Yay.
So since before then, but that was, he gave me license to study it and figure it out. And so it's always kind of been in my bones. And my favorite thing to do would be Friday mornings to go to the Grove Theater.
Yeah.
The first screening, and sometimes there's 2 people in it. And I would
Yeah.
always feel, now they come out Thursday night. Not all of them, but I would feel like this is the first screening of the movie and it's fresh and it's new and I'm here and this is my church. And I just love movies.
What kind of movies do you like the most? It seems like
man.
comedy, of course, but what?
No, it is and it isn't. I grew up on, and I had this realization, this is not what I set out to write, but you write what you know, you write what you love, and I love different things. I love things that don't necessarily go together. And so this movie for me is Dumb and Dumber meets John Hughes meets Sex and the City. 3 very different.
Very different.
Very different. And then I have
I can't believe you're admitting to Dumb and Dumber being an influence.
The original, that and Tommy Boy, huge.
Wow.
Huge influence. But I like that, and that was always my problem, that I wanted to play those roles. I wanted to be David Spade. That's who I wanted to be. And there was no role for me like that. And that's changed in the last few years. You have a lot of strong comedic actresses breaking the mold. But for a long time, women were the straight guys. And the guys had all the good, the funny, I always say I wanted to, I made this movie because I wanted girls to be funny in their underwear, not sexy. That was the goal for this project. Because, and then, people like Lena Dunham, love her or hate her, I just love the path that she's forged and what she's doing. And I know she takes a lot of flack, but I don't think she would take that flack if she was a man. I think she could. I guess you're right. She could get away with some of that without it being so groundbreaking and crass. And, but yeah. So I like these women that are taking these strong comedic characters and running with them. Amy Schumer, a huge fan of what she does.
What have you seen lately that you really got into?
That's funny because you said, obviously comedy, but really. My thing is truth. I don't care because I believe that comedy, in order for it to be good, it's got to be truthful. It's got to come from somewhere, and you've got to want something from the person you're talking to. So truth and intention. Those are the only two things I'm interested in, and I gravitate to anything that I feel is very real. Like, here's an example. Like the year 8 Mile came out. I didn't know that world. I knew Eminem from the radio. I
love Eminem. Don't judge me. Don't at me.
I won't judge you. I redid his, I Weird Al Yankovic his song.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I turned it into pap smear rap about a girl that's having a pap smear.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Oh shoot. The time's run out. I can't sing it.
Okay. So, we do need to wrap things up, but please do tell everyone how to find you, find the movie, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so the movie you can find, this is really fun to say this now, anywhere, really.
Yay.
Anywhere that you get your VOD, your iTunes, Google Play, Xbox, any cable in-demand station. It's pretty much everywhere, so all of those.
The Wedding Invitation.
Oh yeah, the title's important. The Wedding Invitation. And then our @ sign for all of the platforms is @wedding INV movie. And, and I'm at Rainy Kerwin, which, I've just started saying. I spent the last year saying, this is the movie stuff. Don't worry about me. Find the movie. But, I'm going to make another movie.
Lady,
so
we're going to need to stop.
I know. Oh, shoot. We should have run out of time earlier before I added that part.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. This has been a blast. I knew that it would be. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great.
And that's it for today. And we'll be back with more good stuff next time around. Thanks.
You've been listening to Directing Magic with Marquette Jones. Be sure to visit directingmagic.com for past episodes and other information relating to the show. Also, be sure to subscribe and rate and comment on iTunes. Until next time, bye-bye.